Welcome to Skip the Queue. I'm your host, Paul Marden. So today you join me on the top of a mountain in Blaenavon in Wales at Big Pit, the National Mining Museum. I'm here today for a really special event. I've been invited to the opening of Big Pit's new museum retail experience, which is a programme of work that's being done by the Museums Wales group to improve the sense of place and the sense of feeling for what could be a blueprint for the rest of the group. We're going to be joined by a number of different people that have taken part in the project, and without further ado, let's get started on our tour of Big Pit.
Good morning everybody, hello, welcome. It is my absolute pleasure to welcome you all today, and I know there's been a lot of you that have travelled far and wide, so thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you coming to see the amazing store that we've created, and I hope you love it. We're just going to cut the ribbon now.
First up, I've got Catherine Pinkerton, Group Head of Retail at Museum Wales. Catherine, welcome to Skip the Queue.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, look, it's an absolute pleasure. And this is a corker of an episode. I think everybody is going to be really interested in finding out about the retail, the gift shop experience that you guys have introduced at Big Pit, and then you're going to go wider into Museums Wales. So this is a really weird episode because you and I are recording the morning after the day before. So yesterday was the big launch event, and I was with you at Big Pit, and I met lots and lots of people, and we're going to cut to them throughout the episode and hear from those people that were taking part in the project. But you and I have got the benefit of having enjoyed yesterday's event, and we can look back on what that experience was like and talk a little bit about the project. So before we do that, I think it would be really lovely for you to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about Museums Wales and Big Pit specifically.
Absolutely. Okay, so I'm Catherine Pinkerton. So I head up all of the retail stores within Amgueddfa Cymru, which is National Museums of Wales. I've been with the museum just under 3 years, and Amgueddfa Cymru hosts seven sites. It's an incredible establishment to be part of, and I think, coming from a very commercial background, this is very different for me, but I think it's given me lots of insights into bringing lots of different skill sets, I guess, to this cultural sector. I think when I first initially joined Amgueddfa Cymru, there were lots of challenges, and that's not to say that we still have those challenges, as they are in many of our museums. And I think coming from a retail background, it's looking at something that's commercial, Paul. That's key, but actually, how can we make it very collection and story based on our amazing assets that we hold within our museums? And I think that I felt was probably the biggest thing that was missing, because I thought we've got these amazing exhibitions, these amazing collections, amazing, opportunities, and how are we putting that into the retail structure, and how do we offer that to us, to our visitors? And I think sometimes it may be forgotten that you go around these amazing spaces, and it's very based on that visitor focus, and how can we make that visitor feel very happy and engaged. But actually, the end part of that process is nearly always exiting through the retail space, right? And if they've had this amazing opportunity to go, and a lot of investment in these amazing spaces, and then they come through that retail space, which has some elements, but not all, of what our collections hold. There's a confusion there, that end piece. And for me, customer service and visitor experience is absolutely key to how they finish and how they end their day. And if they're ending their day with something, okay, I'll just have a magnet then because there's nothing really else here.
Yeah.
That pains me. That really hurts me. I think, come on, guys, we can do better than this.
Absolutely.
We are in an element of, we have our own assets, our own elements to be able to display that. And I think very much it would be very easy and to take the easy road of having, let's pop a dragon on a mug and we're a Welsh museum. No, we're not. We have assets here. We have beautiful exhibitions. We have beautiful spaces. And actually looking from further afield in terms of an emotional connection. And I think for me, from all of my past kind of previous work and working with Amgueddfa Cymru, it's probably been the most challenging to get perhaps senior management to understand a crazy way of Catherine Pinkerton working into what's emotional retail, what does emotive selling mean? This lady is crazy. What is she talking about? But actually, it's really basic, isn't it? Because for me, if I take my daughter or my husband to any kind of day trip, I want to take something emotional that I've connected with home with me. And
Yes.
and that's so simple, but actually sometimes it's not thought about in that way. And, for me, I'm all about the emotional connection. And I think we put so much investment in curatorial teams to kind of give that to our visitors.
Yeah.
We need to end that. That end part is so important for them to finish, that journey with that emotional connection that they can take home as a souvenir. So I probably said more than I needed to there, Paul. But
no, absolutely. So I think you're capturing the need to curate the ending experience, because the nature of people's memory is they remember the beginning and they remember the end, and the bit that is in the middle is hugely important to the storytelling experience they have whilst they're at the attraction. But if you don't end on a high, then their emotional connection to you and the space and the stories they've heard is not going to be as impactful for them.
Absolutely. Totally agree. I think it's really key for and not just in the kind of, the cultural sector, but in any sector, really. I think it's really important that connection is instant, really, because that is what you need to, that's the hook, isn't it? Of getting that person, and actually understanding what the visitor needs. I mean, it's very easy for me to say on a personal level, I'd love to have this collection of products within the shop, but actually that's not what data tells us. That's not what our demographic tells us. So it's and they are the ones that are important. Our local communities, our demographic is key for us to be successful,
So one of the things that I took from yesterday was the importance that you were moving away from being just any other generic Welsh gift shop to being a gift shop associated with the place. Yeah, that was the nub of I think what you were trying to get to. How did you go about doing that? How did you make it feel so much like a gift shop about Big Pet?
I think it's taken a process of really pulling everything back and getting under the skin of what is the detail and the personality of the site. But actually, it's talking to people and being human, Paul. I think very much, as I say, it'd be very ignorant for me to say this is what I think will work. And that's absolutely not what we want. What we want is for the visitors to say, what was really interesting actually is that we did quite a lot of data analysis in terms of the demographic of customers that come through our sites. But also, what was really key is areas of the sites that were really kind of, 3 key areas that they really enjoyed or they really loved. And actually one of the top ones was the pit ponies that they all loved the pit ponies. They loved talking about it. They loved the stories that the mining team would talk about. It was a really inspirational moment for them to think, oh my gosh, the pit ponies lived underground. This is really, so, I think in some respects, that was probably missed in terms of our retail offer, because what we did after that is that we had a workshop with all our retail team, and we almost did a little bit like a Dragon's Den effect. We said, right, these are the products that we have, right? Can you pick up out of these products which products represent the pit ponies, which products represent the shower rooms? And actually, when you're talking to the teams in kind of a literal sense, there wasn't a lot within our retail offer that we already had. And I think it was a bit of a light bulb moment really for the retail team, and said, oh, Kath, right, I see, I understand what you mean. That's not represented in our retail offer. So what's represented currently was wonderful things and lots of Welsh kind of product, but actually what makes that relatable to our site?
Yes.
And so I think what I wanted to do originally is just go on a journey and kind of really, from a very basic stage, is understand what the site's POS was and actually understand what their personality was and what the curatorial team were trying to push forward as being their identity. And I think once we got the identity, we then broke that down into themes in terms of there's pit ponies. That's a huge part of the, the exhibition. The other huge part of the exhibition were the canaries. So, that was something that was talked about. There's a huge story around that.
Yeah.
And then, the kind of mining history and the community was massive. And actually, that element was so important to me and the retail team to make sure that we got right, because this is history, right? And I come from both my grandparents were miners, so for me it was very much a very emotional time for me to make sure that we got it right and that it was respectfully done. So that was really key in terms of how do we deliver this. That's really, really important, that we are not stepping on people's toes. We're not profiting from something that was, the strike range is very significant within what we offered, but we really wanted to make sure that that was respectful and that it was done in a tasteful way that people felt they could take a souvenir away, but no, that was actually part of the exhibition. So it was those kind of areas that we really wanted to work. So once we had those themes in place in terms of what those looked like, it was then developing that, and how do we develop that into an actual concept?
Yeah, and you've drawn in lots of people. You've already mentioned the kind of wide team that you brought in from Big Pit itself, but from the wider team in the group. Talk a little bit about what that experience has been like as a team. Who have you brought into this?
So originally, when we wrote the retail concept and the retail strategy, you obviously have to kind of involve quite a lot of internal candidates to be able to allow them to believe that this journey and vision is a good one. And I'm super thankful. I've got the most amazing manager, Mark Simcox. He's the head of enterprises, and he is incredible. He's very commercial, but very trusting in terms of understanding what the business should look like, and actually giving that freedom to say, I think this can work, Kath, so you go ahead. And that's huge, right? We're not talking about a small project here. So that firstly was great for me. And then I think having the opportunity to be able to get some key people, and Matthew Henderson we've worked with previously, and I knew straight away, for me, Matthew Henderson has got a very unique way of working, and we work very well together. We've got quite similar kind of ways of working, but I think that development and concept phase is really key. And I think it really got to the point where we just sat in a room and kind of really understood what are we trying to achieve here? How can we achieve that? And really just making it very basic in terms of the key themes. And then in terms of product development, we brought on Anya Kirkby. So she is an illustrator and a very, very clever lady indeed. And we have worked with lots of illustrators and lots of suppliers over the years. But what we wanted something for Big Pit was to be quite different in terms of the illustration and the product development. Because what we wanted to deliver with Big Pit was something that had been my vision since the very, very beginning when I started with Amgueddfa Cymru. And that is, going into the shop and having those guidelines, pricing guidelines, information guidelines, those small details, which would probably mean nothing to the average person walking through, but actually a price ticket on something that's been illustrated pains me to see, because the work that's gone on behind that is so key. And, for most people not understanding that a price ticket on that is just, So I think those details are really key, Paul. And I think she really, really worked stringently with me to make sure that was kind of a massive aspect of that role. And then Arantxa Garcia, who is just the most incredible designer. She's a genius in what she does. She's incredibly creative, and sometimes you have to kind of pull her back and say, okay, you want this, okay, can you deliver this, Arantxa? And what was really interesting with Arantxa is that, she's got a huge, amazing CV of working with lots of people within the cultural sector and designing amazing, incredible pieces. But I think we were very nervous because the original kind of renders that she sent through to us were quite amazing and impressive. And I said, Arantxa, are you able to deliver this under the kind of, the budget? We've got a tight budget here. She's like,
that's the challenge, isn't it? I mean, you do not want to be paying, you don't want to be offered the picture of a Maserati when you have got a Ford Fiesta budget, do you?
Yeah.
You need to know that you can afford it.
Absolutely. And I think with Arantxa, she was very, again, a super creative lady. And I think as soon as I saw that image, I did say to her, right, you need to deliver this now. You've committed to it, Ranta, so this needs to happen. And then finally, Richard Evans, who is hugely respected in the cultural sector, and he really supported in terms of project management and the, I hate to say this, and he won't mind me saying this, but the kind of boring kind of financial Gantt charts and keeping me in line, actually, right? Kath, we haven't got the budget for that. You can't spend that. Come on, Richard, make it work. Move some things around, So I think that was kind of the main area. And then internally, Tracy Lucas, who's kind of my right hand woman, is our operations manager within Amgueddfa Cymru, and she really supported me along with Amy, the shop supervisor, to really look at the product development. So I think, and I think it was really nice actually to have them on board, because I think it gave an opportunity for them to see what could be. And I think, definitely in terms of retail, it's been an opportunity for us to be able to say, look, the impossible can be possible, actually. This is an amazing project. And I think what was really incredible is that when we decided to work on Big Pit, the Big Pit team and all of the mining team actually just came on board, Paul. They took it on board. And I think the reason why they did that is that one of the mining team said to me, he said, Kath, we never get any funding here. It's always in the big cities, the Cardiff, and it's never here. We're just in the middle of nowhere. And I was like, absolutely not. That is not what this is about. This is about, making sure that the community in that area is so solid. And I think the mining industry, and they're very proud of that in terms of the works there. They're incredibly proud of what they do. And so because we chose that as our first project, they were so, so helpful in terms of, we're going to make this work. Let's make it a success, Kath. How can we do that? What do you need from me? I mean, at one point we had two of the mining staff pulling one of the drams, which we upcycled, out of it was like a lake, or I suppose a lake, with a tractor. And I was like, this is crazy. This is crazy, but just amazing that these team members are willing to do above and beyond to kind of go and help and support. And Dwayne Smith, finally, I have to mention him because he went above and beyond. He's an electrical engineer for Amgueddfa Cymru, and no feat was kind of too hard for him. He helped us massively. He's got a huge team of people, and anything that we needed done. I'm not a tradesperson, so anything tradey, I was like, Dwayne, I'm on it, Kath, I'll do it, which is great, because I was like, okay, yes, that was massively helpful, but a huge learning curve, Paul. I feel I've never been so excited about drams in my entire working career as I am now.
and I'd never heard of one until yesterday. But what I found interesting was you see them all the way through the underground experience. Yeah. So I went down in the cage to the bottom of the pit head, did the whole tour. You talk about these drams and the importance of them and the transportation of the coal from the throughout the mine back up to the top, and then you walk into the shop, and it's subtle. This is the way that you've blended the museum into the shop is a subtle experience. It doesn't feel crude, but you've got a dram in the middle of the workshop. Now, I know it's a real one because we talked about it yesterday, and I know the pains that you went through, but it's very subtly placed in there so that it doesn't feel crude. It doesn't feel like you're trying to overwork the metaphor of the mine in the shop.
Oh, that's great. That's great to hear, because that's absolutely what we did not want. And I think in terms of visual merchandising, actually, and picking up on your point there, is that it's very easy for us, and this is something that we're doing in a different shop. It's very easy for us to look at some of our assets and pop them on a tote bag and say, there you go, that's done, we'll sell that. But actually, no, what can we do that's different, that's more kind of innovative, that's more creative, that is a hint or perhaps an opportunity for us to show and display something that is then part of the visitors' question. So when they're coming into store and they're speaking to our retail teams, they're questioning, is this a real dram? What, and that is a conversation opener, isn't it? And I think Kerry Thompson, who is the curator for Big Pit, He's a really inspiring man. I could listen to him all day. And he told me lots about kind of the drams and the history of Big Pit and the strikes. He's such an interesting man. But I think having the inspiration from him allowed us to make sure that we did it not in a crude way, actually, Paul, but that it was representative of the site, but not in a way that's, I guess, too obvious, you know?
Look, Kath, we could carry on talking for ages, but let's cut at this point to hear about some of the voices from the team that you worked with, your internal team, some of the partners that you worked with, about the experiences that they've had on the project. So let's hear from some of the internal team members involved in the project. Firstly, we have Amy Samways, the retail supervisor at Big Pit, followed by Kate Eden, the chair of Museum Wales, and lastly, Nia Elias, the Director of Relationships and Funding at Museum Wales. Hey Amy, how you doing? Lovely to meet you. What's your role at the museum, Amy?
I'm the shop supervisor for Big Pit.
What have you been doing in this whole project? I guess you've been integral to the whole kind of making it all about the place.
Yeah, so I've worked with Anya, who did all the projects for the new shop. So we walked around all the exhibitions. We did a lot of underground visits and a lot of museum visits, and just put things together. I've done a lot of work before this project for the last 2 years to try and get things just more relevant to us and not just a Welsh souvenir shop. So a lot of those projects stayed, and then we just expanded them then.
So how do you go about looking for those products that make it local to here?
Well, we've got a fantastic exhibition at the top of the hill. We've got obviously our ex-miners, and we also have a lot of events through the times as well. So this year was a lot about the strike, because obviously it's the 40th anniversary.
Is it really?
We've got a massive exhibition down in Cardiff, and also there's a smaller one up here as well. So we just walked through the museum, and obviously you know that disasters are obviously a big issue. We didn't want to make a big issue about those, but obviously they're part of history, aren't they? So more books, we made sure we had books around that. And then as you walk through, there's a lot of signs that the staff liked as well, because a lot of our guys have been down and bought the new projects with those as well on.
So do you then go looking for local suppliers to help you with that?
Yeah.
And where do you find those?
Etsy, Facebook.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a lot of them.
Oh, wow.
And also online. And then we've also, because we work with a lot of suppliers as well, I'll say we need this, and then they'll say, oh, you should ask so-and-so, and then we'll go and ask those.
Brilliant. So one of the things that's really interested me this year is talking to people that are running museum retail, and that kind of process that goes from you as a buyer having an idea, what do you want, how do you stock the shop, I think is really interesting process to go through. But flip it on the other side, as a local creator, you've got your thing and you want it in the shop, how do you get it found? Well, sticking it on Etsy is something that they're going to do, but then that might help them get into the museums.
And even if there is something that we want, like at the minute we're looking for NCB soap.
For what?
NCB soap.
What's that?
It's either bright green or bright pink, and they used to buy it in the canteen shop. And it's just imprinted with NCB. The guides have been asking for it, but we have actually found a supplier now who's going to be working on it, so that should be coming this summer.
Wowzers.
Yeah,
that's
really
amazing.
Exciting.
For you, what was the highlight? What's the one thing that about this space, about the whole experience of the project, that jumps out?
For me, it's seeing all the stock we've worked on and somebody actually buying it.
And what is it that people are picking up? What are they walking in and gravitating to?
Anything Big Pit, really. The little enamel little mugs that have gone really well.
Yeah.
I think the wording on those are great, because it says they must not be removed from the premises.
Oh, yeah.
So our guides are loving those. And also our retro sign, which we had for our 40th anniversary 3 years ago, but we kept it because it's such a brilliant design. It was the original from 1983, and it was on the original road sign as you drove in.
Oh, really?
So we've had that recreated, and that sells really well.
That's really interesting. So my wife, with the family, about 25, 30 years ago, came on a family holiday, and they had the original guidebook that they picked up when they were here with the, the kind of the retro signage on there.
Yeah, we're back selling it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my name's Kate Eden. I'm chair of the board of Amgueddfa Cymru.
Tell me a little bit about your involvement in this project.
As the board, we've been tracking the development of commercial and enterprises over the past year, really, and really thrown our weight and support behind what the team has been trying to do here as a kind of flagship, really, for what we would like the new benchmark to be across all of the 7 sites of Amgueddfa Cymru. So seeing it all come together this this morning has just been such a special experience. It's absolutely fantastic. I'm going to bring the rest of the board here as soon as I can so that trustees can see this and see the reaction of staff and of visitors as well, because it's a fabulous achievement and it shows us what we can do now as a national museum.
How well does it tie back into the original pitch at trustees? Because so I'm a trustee of a charity as well. The pressures that we're all under in terms of reducing funding and having to generate our own funding is so hugely important. This must be integral to the conversations that you were having as trustees. Did you have this in mind when you were signing off the agreement to spend the money?
So I don't think anybody realised just how successful this could be. We'd had some mock-ups and we'd had a presentation. So there was a lot of excitement and there was sort of the fledgling ideas. So we'd got a sense of what it could be. But I think importantly for us, it's about that marriage of financial sustainability, because it's got to wash its face. It's got to provide a working profit that can go back into the running of Big Pit here. But it's got to be authentic to this place. It can't be the add-on, the visitor shop that you walk through at the end and it's a bit of a tedious thing to get back to the car park. It's got to be an integral part of the whole visitor experience in this place, and I think that's what they've achieved here.
It's so impressive, so impressive. Just the structure that they've built to give you the impression of the mine in a really subtle way. The product that they've chosen, the way that they've laid out the shop is amazing. I think they've done an amazing job.
That's it. I mean, this is my local site.
Okay.
So I live like 3 miles over the mountain there. So I bring my friends and family here. This is our go-to place when I've got visitors. And I think just the way they've opened up the room, they've removed the barriers, which is really important. It's a small thing, but really important, so that people feel welcome. They can walk in or they can walk around. Yeah. And it's just feels a little bit more inclusive. It feels a bit more kind of, we're here. It's easy to come and see us, and spend time and then spend a little bit of money. Yeah.
So where do we go from here? As trustees, are you fully behind rolling this out now?
Yeah, I mean, I think now that we've seen what we can do and the type of data that's coming through from sales, this is now this is the bar.
Oh, so it has made a discernible difference to say.
I believe so. Early data from Easter is really promising. So, so this is the benchmark now for all of the other sites.
Hi Paul, hi, I'm Leah.
Lovely to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Tell me about your role at the museum.
I am Director of Relationships and Funding. It basically means I get to work with all of the teams across the museum that work on the reputation, the reach, but also the revenue of this wonderful charity and national museum that we are, because as well as getting funding from Welsh Government, we raise our own income so it can be invested in the... What sort of split? So the majority of the money that comes to us does come from Welsh Government because we're a public service. We're here free of charge for the people of Wales, and we look after the national collection, which is over 5 million items across 7 museums and a collection centre. But there's a proportion then of money that we raise ourselves, about sort of 30%, which is from our cafes and our car parks and the experiences that people have, and most importantly, our shops.
So, what was the inspiration for this project? Why kick off a strategy project around the whole retail experience?
Well, this whole project, in essence, started 3.5 years ago when the museum decided that it would bring a strategy together for all of its self-generated income. So that means our philanthropic income generation and through our enterprises, including our retail. And from a retail perspective, we knew that what we wanted to achieve with all of the money that we raise ourselves is that it's really rooted in the collection. Because we have an amazing collection. It tells the story of Wales and it's owned by the people of Wales.
Right.
And from a retail perspective, we knew if people could engage with that and could take away something from the wonderful experience that they've had on site, that it would be something that they would want and it would make it unique, that it's only possible to have here. Developing a project like this is quite challenging.
Yes.
You need the
Funding
time. You need the teams and expertise, some of which are on your permanent team, some of which are naturally not. And also you need investment. And so by starting the thinking and the route of where we wanted to get to 3.5 years ago, it meant when we had the funding and the opportunity to do so here at Big Pit, we knew exactly what to do.
Okay, so you put all of those pieces together and then came here and did the first cookie cutter stamp. But what's interesting is it's not a cookie cutter stamp, is it? This totally feels like the gift shop for this museum, doesn't it?
Yeah, so we feel really strongly that we wanted the balance of knowing that you're at a National Museum Wales site, knowing that you're somewhere unique, but equally that it has a sense of the place.
Yep.
Because all of our 7 museums together tell the holistic story of Wales, but you really get a sense of personality on all of those sites. Not just from the collection and the buildings and the items, but also from the colleagues that work here as well.
Right.
They're very much a part of that in terms of the stories that they tell, their lived experiences, and we had a sense of responsibility and fun to bring that through in the shop. Not just the ambience, but also the products themselves. So much of them, the majority of them actually are grounded in being inspired by the collection in some way, and also has a really strong Welsh and local provenance as well. What we think that will come through to our customers and visitors and guests is that because we've worked across all of the teams in the museum, so curators and people who care for the collection, our colleagues here at Big Pit, many of whom are former miners, and our colleagues front of house, it means that everybody will be able to speak about the product. So as you're walking around, picking things up, imagining them in your home or as gifts, our colleagues can talk about what they mean to the place, and that brings something additional that you can't really buy.
Yeah, there's a story to it, there's a background to it that roots it. Yeah, lovely. For you, what's the standout experience from the whole project? What have you enjoyed the most?
2 things, I think. In terms of the way that it's been done, the fact that so many teams have worked together behind the scenes to make it happen. That means that as we want to change things or tweak things or improve things, we'll have all of the knowledge and expertise already baked in, especially learning from other suppliers who've come along and helped us. So we've got that baked in now, which is really, really exciting. And the second thing is that I can stand here knowing that this is the standard of a national museum that our guests and visitors expect and want to see.
And now let's hear from a few of the external partners that Kath brought into the project. Arantxa Garcia was the shop designer and visual merchandiser. Anya Kirkby was responsible for product development, and Guy Veal was responsible for sound design. Tell me about your involvement in the project.
Sure, so I'm the shop designer and visual merchandiser. It's a freelance role, so I work with the team Matthew, Richard, Anya and Guy.
Excellent.
So we kind of all came as part of a team and each one of us looked after different areas of the project, and my involvement was to kind of reinvent and reimagine what was already here, and the idea was to create a space that was connected to the experience and to the site itself. So we've basically ripped the space apart. We've kind of kept the structure, obviously, but we've opened up the space as well. Before the shop, it would be very, very separate. You'd have admissions and then you have the shop area, which meant that you were only really accessing the shop if you came to visit the site, but as a local, you wouldn't be able to come, for example. Or you could, but maybe not in such an open way.
Yeah, you wouldn't feel welcome.
Exactly. You may not want to just because you didn't know. Yeah. Whereas now you can just come in and basically hang around and also browse the shop. Exactly. We took inspiration from Live Underground, from the mine itself. So before, the building was white, the units were white, so it could be a shop anywhere. You know, it didn't really have a DNA, so to speak, or an identity that related it directly to the site. So when visiting the underground and King Cole as well, the exhibition that we've got just up the hill, we took inspiration from basically sort of like the cladding that you've got on the walls. Cladding is not the right word, so if one of the miners hears me saying that, they'll be, that's not the word that we told you. But the idea is that all the materiality that we're using, it's really evocative of the site, and it's the materials that have been used. underground. So even like the safety lamps, they're the authentic safety lamps, and the team on site, Dwayne Smith, has electrified them. So it means that now they work obviously as a normal light, but it's a safety lamp.
But they are the original safety lamps.
They are the original safety lamps.
And
so
what about these
those
styles?
elements, so yes, I always like going for a hunt on the site. So basically, the team took me to different rooms that there are, and we just found stuff, if you like. So they're like the pressure gauges. We're going to use them just to add again, like references to the site and the authenticity.
Of course.
So you also find loads of tools that would have been used underground as well.
I would imagine that this has been a really enjoyable project for you. I can see it on
definitely
your
has.
face how
Yes.
much you've enjoyed it.
It has, and I think for designers, sometimes there's projects that take a bit longer to emerge, and you keep changing things because you just don't feel probably it's quite right. There's something, but with this one, it kind of, after the site visit, it just clicked.
It clicked immediately.
It clicked immediately. So we darkened the walls, so we've kind of given that sort of grey background just to kind of creating more of like a cozy and shrinking the space.
But it pops the orange.
Exactly. And the orange is everywhere. So like we've also changed the lighting, so it's a lot warmer. So again, that hint of orange. Yeah, orange on the back, orange on the miners on here. And then it comes also from the products. So the identity is there, but without going fully corporate, if that makes sense.
Yes.
That's the colour that you remember, isn't it? You've just been underground. All our guides and miners wear the orange overalls and the sort of like the blue jackets over it, whether it's a donkey jacket in the winter, or then they wear the soft shells as well. So yeah, it's all those details, like those hints to the experience that kind of are embedded in the design.
Yeah.
And these are regional as well.
Oh,
so
are they?
The drums are regional. All the flatbeds. So the team here sort of like took the metal sides off, and then sort of like left the skeleton of the drum, varnished it, and then our shop fitters Andy here, they did all the sort of the cladding using reclaimed scaffolding boards, but the original drums would have been made out of wood. So it's just
beautiful.
It's
so tactile, isn't it?
It's tactile. Again, we're looking at the DNA all the time, and shops can be more than just shops. Shops can tell stories. You just connect with it in a very different way. And just having the team on site involved has been absolutely incredible. Like the sense of pride and belonging and provenance that this kind of has awakened. It's been great. Like it's your job done really as a designer. When you just feel like everyone owns it, that's your job. That's when you can walk away.
Yeah. What an amazing testimonial for you and the work that everyone feels like that. Anya, lovely to meet you.
Yeah.
Tell me, what was your involvement in the project?
So I mainly focused on product development. So we looked at where we could get inspiration from the site and how we could translate that really from the site experience into the shop experience as well.
Okay, so you're experiencing what's going on and then looking to the outside world as to how you can source your products. Where do you go for the inspiration for the products?
Working with the team a lot. So Amy was a huge help on guiding us on what things would be very useful for visitors, what they really enjoyed when they were on site, what were the key take-home messages that they experienced. And then working with Amy and Tracy as well to look at what products people like when they're in the shop anyway and how we can kind of marry those two up.
So what is it that people like when they come to Big Pit?
Well, unsurprisingly, the mine. So they enjoy the mining experience. So that was just something that we already had in the shop, so we just expanded on that more if possible. But then we've also taken inspiration from signage. So they already had the original Big Pit signage, and we looked at that and kind of again expanded on it. So then we've kind of expanded that to signage that you find in some of the other exhibits. So up in the showers, for example, in the canteen signage, some of the original pieces from collections, we then translated that into products. So you'll see we've got the designs across mugs, original little metal signs, moved that across to prints, notebooks, postcards. Yeah, so
you've been developing a lot of the products yourself, so bringing that kind of the unifying feel to everything.
Yeah, so along with product development and making all the kind of the new things that we can have, it's just bringing across the branding through the AC brand really strongly across everything. It's got such a strong message that we may as well have that on as many products as we possibly can do.
And how much of the stuff is actually locally sourced?
Oh, it's huge amounts. And the exciting thing is, after speaking to Amy, the things that she needs to reorder are the local suppliers things, which is so nice.
Okay.
So a lot of the confectionery, that's locally sourced, candles, soap, the coal figures, the wooden spoons, chocolate boxes, the biscuit boxes, so as much as possible. And then we've worked with local suppliers as well to do photography, to do some of the signage, to do the original sign writing in the shop as well. So beyond product, we've looked at the POS points and like elements of the shop as well. So thankfully, we've used as many local suppliers as we possibly can do.
You've enjoyed this project,
I've
haven't
absolutely
you?
loved it. Yeah, it's fantastic. To see it is absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really special.
And then from here, you springboard on to the other 7
Fingers
sites.
crossed,
How do you come up with the ideas then?
Well, exactly the same process. So working with the teams to find out what it is that visitors absolutely love about their sites and bringing that into the shop experience. So again, I get very lucky. I get to go around a lot of museums and experience it. But
it's a tough job that we have, isn't it?
It's tricky. But basically finding out what they love and bringing that through. The really things that visitors take home with them anyway, and just making it into a product that they can actually physically take a piece of the museum home with them as well.
It's great because there are some pocket money items here, because I take kids on school visits, and it's a very expensive experience. But if they take a fiver with them, often they can't get anything with a fiver, but they can walk in and they've got pencils, they've got rubbers, and they'll walk out happy with those little bits. Yeah. But at the same time, you've got some beautiful stuff that the grown-ups can come and pick up and really enjoy.
It's the same as any museum visitor. You kind of have to look at who's going to be visiting. It's all types of people that come, and just gauging it from that as well. So having an offer for everyone that they can enjoy. Someone said to me once that children for the first time, it's often their first time having a transaction monetary wise is at a museum on a school trip. Yeah. So it's just lovely to kind of have something for them to experience that with as well.
I've never thought of it like that. Yeah. They're out on their own, they're not with mum and dad. So kids to the Science Museum last year, and the amount of time we took in the shop because of the indecision that they had.
It's the indecision, and then the queue of all of them having a £5 note and having all the change come back or not having quite enough. But I think it's such an important, if you can't do that at a museum, where can you do it?
Guy, hi. I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about what was your part of the project.
I was sound designer for the soundscape, which we can't hear when everyone's chatting.
I can hear some birds in the background. Is that
canaries, living canaries, not dead gas coal mine canary. So I did a little bit of research sort of towards the end of the project, after lots of stuff had been built in, and they decided that some low-level sound would be a good part of the experience. And looking at the brief and the shape of the room, the acoustics, a lot of this new ducting that's gone in that was not then easy to put cables into, we kind of had to go for a wireless solution.
Okay.
And as part of that, I found a Swedish company that had a system that creates its own network, which is like a sort of weird dream, because normally you've got to go to the IT guys, and then something goes wrong and there's some sort of address problems, or Bluetooth is not always reliable. This has been a revolution just in terms of, I don't know if you can see them, they look like light fixtures that are centrally over these panels.
Oh, right.
And they're quite...
and so there's speakers pointing down onto the panel to spread it. So what are the other kind of sound pictures that you're painting? We've got the canary, what else have we got?
Well, so the whole idea was that you're trying to represent the industrial heritage of the site and have as many authentic sounds from the site as possible.
Right.
So we've reused some of the really high-quality recordings that also feature at different parts of the site already.
Yep.
But then also sourced about another 70 or 80 sounds from the BBC archive.
Oh, wow.
Which I have paid for to be commercially licensed. And but if you think about those sounds, they're quite sort of punctuated and aggressive. You think of any industrial sound and like chipping away or different tipples working, the idea is that you don't want to surprise someone while they're shopping and leaning over next to a speaker and hearing it. So it needed to be softened in some way.
Right.
And, traditionally the way I've done work in music and sound design is using different textures and tonal design in like a drone, I suppose, as a sort of basis that can be moving and organic, not totally static.
Yeah.
And the idea was to sort of try and include fragments of relevant songs using the male voice choir.
Really?
And we tried several things, and I looked at it, and I realised that you might catch someone coming in for 5 minutes here, and they catch a snippet, and it's all well and good for them. But the staff in here have got to hear this 8 hours a day, every day, 4 weeks a month, so forth. So even just one little identifiable recurring melody starts to get too much, even on quite a long file.
Oh, really?
And I found that it wasn't sustainable. So in the end, I ended up using almost like the vocal warm-ups and breaths of the choir, artificially extended out so they're not breathing, and just this constant low-level breathy sort of expulsion of
so
their
that's
voice.
constantly
so it's in
going
there.
in.
I mean, if we went quiet now, we'd hear it as a backdrop. And it's embedded with a few other little musical elements that just sort of try and soften and support. I think of it like the vowels of the track, and then the consonants or the industrial sounds.
The chipping noises and the harsher noises.
So they're harsher, but they're there, and they're a bit removed and reverberant and in the background. But and
it's really interesting how you describe it in that kind of using the metaphor of the letters.
Yeah, that's what it felt like. Just trying to find something that was like a vocabulary of work that has to tick so many different boxes, including like a therapeutic retail experience.
Yeah.
People leaving the site with a sense of well-being.
Yeah.
Also, like summarising what they've been through, not sort of projecting them out the door with, a completely new thing or somewhere that they haven't been yet. So, there's a fair few things to try and fit in there, and hopefully it works. And we'll see how things are in a year's time.
Yeah. Kath, and the last point I wanted to touch on before we finish today is, oh my God, how happy everybody was at that event yesterday. How positive the experience was for all of the team members. What was for you the big standout moment for the entire project?
I mean, there's so many, Paul, but I think for me, it's an opportunity to see what can be achieved when people collaborate. And I think, joining the museum 3 years ago is really collaborating with lots of different departments to achieve something as a team. Teamwork is absolutely the key to kind of success. And I think you can only achieve that by having that really professional kind of embodiment with all of the collaborative teams to work together for the same goal. And I was really proud yesterday that it took a lot of work, but actually without a team of 40 people, as well as the wider organisation, it would not have been. It was no mean feat, but it certainly wasn't just down to one person saying this is my project.
Of course.
It was a team effort, and I was so proud of everybody that was there to kind of thank them along the way to say this we've done this, and now onwards and upwards.
Yeah, absolutely. You should be so proud. It really was it's a demonstration of what a museum gift shop experience can really be like when you work together like that, when you collaborate. So well done to all of you. It was such a lovely experience yesterday. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you so much for coming, Paul. I appreciate it.
Before we go though, I always ask for a book recommendation from our guests. Now, it would have bankrupted me to have asked everybody yesterday for book recommendations. So you have to take the responsibility of a recommendation on behalf of everybody. What have you got for me?
Okay, does this have to be work related, or can this be something from a person?
No, it can be fiction, non-fiction, work, non-work, entirely up to you.
Okay, I have a few. I think The Secret for me is, that book seems to be. I always go back to that book very often, and I think it's a key one for lots of areas. So that's definitely a takeaway from me. But the other one I'm reading at the moment is called A Monk's Guide to Happiness. I'm not sure if you've had an opportunity to read it. So, it's a 21st century take on a monk's guide, but he had a very high level job. It's written by G. Long Thubet, and he had a very high powered job, and he had a burnout. And interestingly, he changed his whole mindset in terms of what makes him happy, and really making it quite basic, right? So it's a real eye opener in terms of just pulling things back sometimes, At the end of the day, come on, let's just live life and be happy, but not stress out about things. I'm quite easy to do that. So this is very much just breathe, Kath. Get through it. But it's a good one. It's a good one. If you want to just strip it back and just kind of understanding the basics of being happy, then he's great.
Oh, Kath, that's a great recommendation. If you go over to Blue Sky and repost the show message that Wenlin will put out and say, I want Kath's book, then the first person that does that will get a copy of the book sent to them. Kath, it was absolutely delightful. I enjoyed my day wandering around Big Pit yesterday, no end. Given that half my family is from the valleys and most of them were miners, I feel like I should have done this a very long time ago, but it was lovely. And to enjoy the experience of the celebration that you had yesterday, it was a real privilege. So thank you.
Oh, it's a huge privilege to have you there, Paul. Thank you so much. I'm really appreciative. Did you purchase?
I did purchase on my way
Yay! Great.
Deal.
Thank you so much.
So, after my trip 90 metres down to the bottom of the mine shaft, where I, of course, couldn't take microphones. I'm now back up on the surface, microphones back in hand, and enjoying myself wandering around. Currently in the winding house, which is where all the machinery is for lifting the cages that 90 metres down to the bottom of the pit head. I've had an amazing day here at Big Pit. It's been so interesting to see this museum and to talk to many of the amazing staff that have taken part in this big project to redesign their gift shops. Highly recommend a day trip to Big Pit. Really has been very enjoyable, if for no other reason to see that amazing new gift shop experience. Now, as always, if you'd like a copy of Catherine's book, head over to Blue Sky and repost the show notice that Wenlin will post out and say, I want a copy of Catherine's book, and the first person to do that will get that copy sent over to them. So all that remains for me to say is thank you to Catherine for inviting me here to Big Pit today, and I'll see you again soon. Take care, bye-bye. Thanks for listening to Skip the Queue. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please leave us a 5-star review. It really helps others to find us. Skip the Queue is brought to you by Rubber Cheese, a digital agency that builds remarkable systems and websites for attractions that helps them to increase their visitor numbers. You can find show notes and transcripts from this episode and more over on our website, skipthequeue.fm.